This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter for MacVoices viewers and listeners. Visit MacVoices.com, look for the blue box in our sidebar, and subscribe. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices at WWDC and AltConf in San Francisco. I'm here with Greg of Raizlabs, one of the sponsors of AltConf, to talk about their sponsorship and everything you do, Greg.
Super. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about Alt. We've been participating in Alt for a number of years, and we've kind of stepped up a little bit in terms of what Alt is and how we embrace the community. And so we're super excited. The event is just picking up steam every single year we do it, and I couldn't be more thrilled. Tons of developers are coming to San Francisco without a ticket, looking to come to Alt, and the number of speakers, the number of venues and partners that we have lined up just makes it more and more exciting to come to DubDub, not necessarily for the sessions at DubDub, but for the community aspect of what this whole iOS mobile community is all about.
And what's really interesting about it, and I think it's a tribute to the Alt Conference folks, is that we're not just talking about from New York or from Southern California. We're talking about from Germany.
It's international.
And
it's very international.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's one of the key organizers, Rob Elkin of AltConf, is actually based in London, so that gives us a very global audience. So we have a bunch of people from London, from Ireland, from Australia, kind of coming in and really being some of the world's best mobile developers in the world, coming and giving talks and just hanging out and talking shop, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the Alt Labs is especially this kind of the spirit of that. The Alt Conference over at the Children's Discovery Museum, they're doing presentations and all, and those seem to be very well attended. But this is just completely catch as catch can. Sit down with somebody and see if they can solve your problem, and you can solve theirs.
Yeah, and one of the fun things is, I love speeches and presentations where someone is kind of talking at the audience, and this is what I learned, and this is what's important. But I love also having the face-to-face time and being like, oh, I talked to the Fitbit guy, and I talked to this guy doing iBeacons, and I talked to this other guy doing analytics, and oh, Philips is here with their Hue lights, and there's so many cool technologies, and you can't look at all of it, that being in a place like this, you kind of opens your eyes to all these other things that are out there and people are excited about.
Yeah. So why did you decide to put your sponsorships behind Alt Conference? Just the community?
Sure. Well, we're a big community advocate, and for us, so my company builds and develops mobile applications, and so we build a little over 100 different mobile applications for some of the world's Fortune 500 companies. And for me as a company, I'm trying to make our company known not just in New England area where we were originally headquartered, but as a national company. And so not only are we sponsoring things in Alt, but we're trying to have a national presence, national stage. And so for us, I asked myself, how can I support the community and great developers? Because what we're doing is we're always looking for finding the world's best talent and letting them know that we care about the craft of great mobile applications and great software and animations and transitions and kind of the subtlety of great software. And I never like to pitch or sell people. I like to support the community, and if people know what we're about, they'll look us up, they'll come talk to us.
That you build applications for Fortune 500 companies is really interesting to me, because it's one place where the Fortune 500 companies can actually be part of the community. They can respect the guidelines. It's up to them to interact in this new world in a positive way.
Yeah.
And you're kind of the guy that has to shepherd them to that.
Yeah, a lot of the larger companies that we work with, they know that mobile is important, but a lot of the larger companies aren't necessarily technology companies. Many of them are retail companies or finance companies, or they have other industries, and they look to us to be the expert in whatever the technology stack is. So we come to DubDub and we learn about Swift and we learn about the new technologies that Apple introduces, but we also get caught up on all the other technologies, whether it's Cocoa Pods or some of the third-party things that are being produced, because as a developer, we need to know about all of it, not just Apple stuff, but everybody's stuff.
Okay, so how do you, and don't call any names, please.
Yeah.
But Company X comes to you and says, we want an iOS app.
Yeah.
And, we want it to, buzz in the person's pocket every 10 minutes and flash the screen and do all kind of obnoxious things. How do you say, guys, that's not a good idea? How do you pull them back?
That's one of the things that's a little different about us. I don't have a problem saying no. And so we try to be the advocate of the user. And ultimately, if you're an advocate of the user, you're also an advocate for the company that's asking for these. So I know what they're thinking. They're like, oh, I want to get more eyeballs and more traction and more whatever. But the fact of the matter is that 56% of people turn off push notifications. So, and they do that because these brands have started to lose the trust of their users not to annoy them. Right. And so it's actually, you have to flip the switch the other way. And it's like, we're not going to annoy you at all. And when we are sending you a notification, it's so high value that you're like, oh, this is useful. So again, we don't work with FedEx, but as an example, if they were like, we're going to send you a notification when your package arrives, that's actually really useful. Everyone uses the example, oh, when I walk into Starbucks or when I walk by a Starbucks, it's going to buzz iBeacon in my pocket. Nobody actually wants that. I can look up, I can see the Starbucks, I know it's there, I don't need buzzing my pocket. It's really, if you build high value experiences, it's not so much of me convincing the Fortune 500 that this is the right idea, it's me convincing them as a person. Like, is this what you would want for yourself if all the other companies? And again, I try to build apps selfishly, like, is this what I would want? Right. And when we're talking to companies, we want them thinking, is this what you would want for yourself if you were on the other side, if you weren't inside the company? And I think that builds better experiences, it builds better software. That's a phenomenal philosophy and way to think about it, that as a user, an advocate for the user, you're also an advocate for the company. Because it really has to be. It has to work. Otherwise, the users are going to reject it and walk away. That's right. You can't piss off your customers. I mean, there's a little bit of play and companies experiment with light advertising and they're like, how do I get higher engagement? But some of the retailers that we work with have significantly higher engagement on our mobile apps that we've produced for them, like 10x of what they're able to do in other mediums, because we respect the user, we really focus on performance and quality, and we're able, like, the people leave us reviews like, oh my god, this is so much better than the other shopping and e-commerce experiences. And it's because we pay attention to the user and what the user wants more than what the company, again, it's a balance. We need to make the business happy, but we do that by making sure we deliver a great customer experience. What kind of time frame does it take from the moment that you sign the contract and say, we're going to help you build the app, to delivery? And I realize there are a lot of different things that go into it. So it's kind of like saying, how long does it take to build a car? And the short answer is it depends. I think on the low end, we have done rapid fire projects in 2 weeks. That's not the norm. When the iPhone 3GS was coming out, we actually were the first app to take video off the 3GS and upload it to Facebook. And so we did that project in about a week. We just kind of threw it together. And that's unusual. A typical project for a large company is anywhere from 3 to 6 months to kind of blue sky thinking, design it, develop it, debug it, test it, and put it out in the market. And it's really dependent on the complexity of the app and how large a team we put on it. Right. It's interesting, again, because so many of the developers we've talked to here are more indie developers. Yeah. And you're working in the corporate space, so unlike a lot of these people, they answer to themselves and to their users. You have to answer to somebody else as well as the users. Yeah, it's we've done a bunch of indie stuff as well, and somewhere there's a balance, because the indie stuff is very rewarding because you get to make all the decisions yourself and what do I want and how do I want it. And when you're doing corporate work, you want that mentality of how do I build the cool stuff, how do I make it awesome, but you also need to make sure you're keeping in mind the business realities and how do I get this to market, how do I service. And in many cases, the customers that we're working with, they have tens of millions of users, and you can't make everyone happy, so you have to make really hard decisions in terms of how do you build great products. So if a Fortune 500 company who's watching this, let's hope so, would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it? They just check us out at Raizlabs.com. Hopefully we can include a link, and my email's on there, my Twitter's on there. Definitely follow me, heckle me, tell me I'm wrong. I love when people do that, and we'll reach out, we'll let you know. Be careful what you ask for. I can't wait. Greg, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for the time. Thank you as well. Appreciate it. Folks, we'll have more from WWDC and the Alt Conference in San Francisco. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date with all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com.